Ask most people when McLaren's road car story begins, and you'll get the same answer. The F1, that jaw-dropping three-seat masterpiece from the 1990s that basically rewrote the rulebook on what a supercar could be. But that story actually starts much earlier and much less successfully with a car most people have never heard of. Bruce McLaren himself had already tried to build a road-going McLaren supercar back in the late 1960s, more than 2 decades before the F1 existed, and that forgotten project, called the M6GT, has now been brought back from the dead through a painstaking factory recreation by McLaren Special Operations. What makes the M6GT worth talking about isn't just that it's old, it's that it fundamentally rewrites the timeline of McLaren's road car ambitions. The F1 gets all the credit for kickstarting that chapter of the company's history, but Bruce McLaren was already chasing the idea of turning racing know-how into something drivable on public roads decades before Gordon Murray ever sketched the F1. The M6GT was meant to be the bridge, taking everything McLaren had learned dominating Can-Am racing and packaging it into something you could actually own and drive to the shops, at least in theory. The whole concept grew out of the M6A, the Can-Am race car that had turned McLaren into a serious force in North American motorsport. Bruce McLaren figured the same principles that made the M6A so effective: lightweight construction, obsessive attention to aerodynamics, a racing-first engineering mindset could just as easily underpin a road car. The M6GT wasn't meant to be a watered-down street version of a racer. It was meant to prove that competition-bred engineering could survive the transition to road use without losing what made it special in the first place. The plan, as it existed, called for something like 50 examples, enough to make it a genuine limited production supercar while also potentially supporting a Group 4 homologation racing effort built around the same M6 platform. It's an ambitious plan for its era, but ambition alone couldn't save it. Only a small number of prototypes were ever finished before Bruce McLaren was killed in 1970, and the project died with him, unfinished and largely forgotten outside of hardcore McLaren historians. What McLaren Special Operations has done here isn't some loose, modern reinterpretation of that old idea. It's a genuine attempt to finish what Bruce McLaren started, using the same references, materials, and engineering logic he would have used at the time. The team dug through archive photographs, original technical drawings, and even original molds to get the bodywork right, treating authenticity as the entire point of the exercise rather than an afterthought. There's no attempt here to modernize the car or make it more palatable by today's standards. The goal was staying true to what Bruce McLaren actually envisioned. Sourcing the right foundation turned out to be one of the trickiest parts of the whole project. The recreation is built on a genuine period M6A race chassis, adapted to support a closed cockpit and road-going bodywork it was never originally designed to carry. Since that chassis was built for racing, not for wrapping a road car body around, MSO's specialists had to engineer and fabricate structural reinforcements from scratch, blending restored original hardware with newly made components wherever the history demanded it. It's a strange kind of engineering challenge, part restoration, part invention, part archaeology. Mechanically, everything here is deliberately, unapologetically period correct. Power comes from a small block Chevrolet V8 paired with a 5-speed manual, exactly the kind of raw mechanical setup Bruce McLaren would have specified at the time. There's no attempt to sneak in modern electronics or contemporary performance tech to make the car quicker or easier to drive. The whole point is preserving that unfiltered analog character that defined early supercars before software started running the show. The craftsmanship that went into this thing is honestly kind of remarkable once you start looking at the details. Traditional techniques and genuinely specialist skills were used throughout, right down to the smallest components. Aerospace specialists were brought in specifically to produce period-correct aluminum rivets, of all things, while the interior leans fully into its late 1960s identity: green carpeting, custom vinyl upholstery, and a hand-turned walnut gear selector that looks like it belongs in a museum, because in a sense, it kind of does. Even the paint carries meaning. The car wears a shade called Colebrook White, named for the location near Heathrow where McLaren's old facility once stood and where Bruce McLaren originally dreamed up much of his road car ambition. It's a small detail, but it ties the car directly back to a specific place and a specific moment in the company's early history, rather than just picking an attractive shade off a modern palette. There's also something quietly poignant about where this car is set to make its public debut: the Goodwood Festival of Speed, held at the very circuit where Bruce McLaren lost his life in 1970 while testing an M8D Can-Am car at just 32 years old. Bringing the M6GT back to life and unveiling it there isn't just convenient scheduling, it reads as a deliberate, fitting tribute to the man whose unfinished vision this car represents. What this recreation really does is fill in a gap most people didn't even know existed in McLaren's history. Long before carbon fiber construction, hybrid powertrains and record-chasing performance numbers became the brand's calling card, its founder was already trying to bring racing DNA to the road. Ideas that would later define McLaren's entire road car philosophy: lightweight construction, aerodynamic focus, and obsessive connection between racetrack and street, all traced directly back to what Bruce McLaren was attempting with the M6GT, decades before anyone else in the industry was thinking that way. In an era where supercars are increasingly defined by hybrid systems, endless electronic aids, and horsepower figures that keep climbing every year, the M6GT offers something almost refreshingly different. Its significance has nothing to do with a lap time or a power figure. It's about the story, an engineer's abandoned dream, quietly completed more than 50 years later, finally giving Bruce McLaren's first real road car vision the ending it never got to have.